All right, what's up, Bachelor Squad? The Ryan and Jacob Show is back for our second episode of the BachPod, where we are certainly not sponsored by Pure Leaf Tea, but maybe one day. Maybe one day. So we got a lot to unpack in this episode. This was a heavy hitter, to say the least, but I think I would be remiss if I didn't first touch on the fact that I found out today Claire and Dale, maybe our worst Bachelorette season ever. Claire and Dale officially split up.
Already?
Already. What do you
Wow.
think about that?
Man, I watched one episode of that season,
Same.
and it was awful, and I did not watch the rest of it, and I'm not surprised. I'm just going to put it that way. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I think everybody probably thinks the same thing about the way Dale kind of got pressured into that engagement with the way that everything went down. Horrible for him. So, hey, man, I hope you throw on some T Grizzly first day out, grab a six-pack, have yourself a day, man, because congratulations, you got out. I feel good for the guy. I feel like he's upward and onward to better things. So I just felt like we needed to touch on that. But let's get into episode 3 of this week, Matt's season. What'd you think about our opening rose ceremony?
Yeah, so episode 2 ended with, as you know, Sarah fainting, and then that was the big lead up to episode 3. Pretty dramatic. She kind of went in the back. Matt had to console her and things like that, but she was fine. And the rest of the rose ceremony just kind of went on. But the girls were not too happy because a lot of them thought it was a big stunt. And Anna, I don't know, Anna's the blonde girl with kind of a big mouth. She has a pretty big mouth, but that's kind of how I recognized her. But her mouth is just kind of big. But she was pissed. She thought she was faking. And she was just so mad. And that was the one girl that kind of was just really, really mad and making fun of Sarah. Just trying to get like attention. And I don't know if you think of any other girls, but that was just, she was going in on her on at least that portion of the show.
I think there were definitely quite a few. Anna was definitely like one of the most upset because I think just because like she hasn't had a lot of actual time with Matt. And then she sees this girl getting all this attention. And I got to ask, like, do you think that was an act? Because if it was, hear me out. Was it genius? Because she got like an extra 5-10 minutes with this dude. He's outside. They go outside. He's rubbing her back, consoling her. May have been the best plan for her.
So if you asked me that at the beginning of the episode, I would have been like, yeah, that wasn't that. That was pretty, smart that she got like more FaceTime and, Matt gave her his jacket. I was like, that's pretty sweet. But we'll talk about this, of course, later. She did that about 7 more times throughout the episode. So not maybe genius one time, but when you do it another 6 times, that'll start pissing off the girls. And we'll talk about that. But, I want to talk about the rose ceremony. The way Queen Victoria looked, dude, she looked like death. Like she had bags under her eyes. She was just looking like death.
I'm not sure that I've seen her look good in any single episode yet.
But I mean, she had some, she literally looked like death. But she got a rose.
The last rose?
The last rose.
I mean, could we have set it up any more perfect than for the girl everyone hates to get the last rose over Marilyn? What'd you think about Marilyn getting sent home over her?
Marilyn, we talked about this a lot in the podcast last time, and it was either going to be Marilyn or Victoria. You knew that was going to be the last rose, so it was either Marilyn or Victoria. Would I have gone Victoria? Of course not. But again, I think that was a little more pushing from the producers because Victoria's going to get you a lot of views. Victoria's going to get a lot of drama within it. And she kind of didn't disappoint. We'll, again, talk about it more. But Victoria kind of calmed down during this episode, but she still had her jabs in there. But Marilyn went home. She was very sad, of course. And then 3 other girls that I didn't know went home. I don't even know their names. But nobody does. But I know Chewy does like a bachelor tournament or, the the bracket. And I just want to put this out there. I think the next girl, at least one of the next girls that goes home, is going to be Kylie. That's the one that kind of showed up in lingerie that first night. I'm going to call it next episode or whatever, the next rose ceremony. I think she will be one of the 2 or 3 or whoever, how many get sent home. I think she will be one to be sent home.
Yeah. Pretty wild. I mean, Marilyn got shafted hard.
Yeah, she did.
Easy money. Like, Victoria's plan worked to perfection. She cries to Matt about Marilyn bullying her, which was completely out of left field. And it, like I said, it worked to perfection. Victoria gets the last rose. But one, you mentioned Victoria's jabs. One that stood out to me when Sarah was having her little episode, Victoria gets on camera and says, like, it's not the Sarah show. Like, bitch, it's been the Victoria show for like the first 2 episodes, and she really had the audacity to say that. I was crying laughing when I heard that. But that's exactly what you said. You got to keep a girl like that around for views, because she is just going to say shit like that all the time.
Yeah, and then I wrote in my notes when I was taking notes during the show. I was like, Sarah might be Victoria's new enemy when that kind of happens. So Victoria needs to like push a new enemy because Marilyn's gone. So now she's got to find that other person to really get under their skin. And I thought it was going to be Sarah, but we'll see what Sarah does. But we can go on to the date, which was a group date.
Yeah,
and they did a very interesting date to make the girls feel uncomfortable and try to be comfortable within an uncomfortable situation. And I thought this was going to be a fun date because I love being uncomfortable in uncomfortable situations. Like, I'm totally comfortable with that.
Kind of what we thrive on, actually.
Right, we thrive on it. So
as a group.
Right. So what do you think about the date? Any notes on what you got on that?
I got lots of notes on that. First of all, I want to point out this was definitely something that they tried to do in Peter's Bachelor season, but then like Hannah B showed up out of nowhere and pretty much ruined it, so they didn't get to do it. So I can only imagine they were like, hey guys, we still think this was a great idea. We got to have these girls write down these sex stories and just like make it real weird. And they did not disappoint, let me tell you. And I really wish that there was some archive out there where I could find the raw, uncut version of this, because some of these girls got up there, Victoria and Katie, namely, got up there, and it sounded like they were speaking in Morse code because it was just beep, 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 beep. Like, I want to know what the fuck they were saying, but oh my goodness, did that not disappoint? Like, what did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, like, I was just some notes, like Katie, they couldn't even show Katie when they were like having her speak. So I don't know if she was doing some like hand gestures or like just like feeling herself up or something, but she didn't even get shown when she was speaking. And like when Victoria was speaking, like she was just going crazy. Hers was very funny. I think the girls actually thought hers was extremely funny because she was like speaking in first person as queen, and everyone knows that's kind of her mantra.
Right,
and people
that's her profession. So.
Right. So people were just eating that up, and I feel like she had fun with it, which, I'm sorry to say, like Victoria, like I actually kind of liked her in that sense just because it was really funny. And I feel like she made it herself and made it more fun just because of how she's perceived by the other girls and just, fed off that. But one thing that was really funny was Matt was the first one to go, right?
Yeah.
And this guy was talking about, it sounded like he was having a picnic. Like he wasn't even like talking sexy talk. And I started dying when he was saying something, and all you hear is chocolate cake. I'm like, what the freak is going? Like, he did nothing pursued sexual innuendos or any, like, it was just not good for him, I think.
Oh, dude, I have to imagine that, like, when he went first, he had absolutely no idea what these girls were about to write down. Like, because, like you said, like, it sounded like this dude was out for a Sunday lunch, like, right? Like,
yeah, his was not.
Came out swanging, bro. Yeah. Like, and I must say, like, this might be my brain thinking this, but there is absolutely no way that guy is sitting there listening to this and not just getting completely boned up. Like, Hey guys, I saw one time one of the girls finished, and it might have been Katie, but when he got up to give her a hug, he jetted up out of that seat, dude, so fast. I was like, oh man, I'd have done the same thing, dude. Good call. Or I'd have had to sit there and be like, hey, I really want to give you that was a great job, but I'm just gonna need to stay down here for a few minutes.
Dude, he's probably had his hands in his pocket readjusting the whole time. So when he did get up, he could get up without having a bulge going up on his.
Flipping that shit up in the waistband, dude. Freaking power moves only, bro.
But I mean, you could even tell like the girls were kind of like some of those like Kate, like especially I think Katie's was the best. Like I think even the girls kind of got turned on because I think one of the girls or a couple girls said like she might write professionally for like erotica. Like hers was that good. And you know that dildo got a little bit extra loving on some of those girls, especially Katie. They might have worn out some batteries on that one because they were looking. Even Matt, even the girls. It was very uncomfortable though. Like I got to give it to him. I think that was a very fun challenge. It was pretty cool to see like Chris Harrison actually like write that book.
Yeah.
And who was that girl that was reading like somebody from like season 2 or 3? Like she was old school.
I have no idea who that was, but when they first showed her, I was like, damn, who is this? And then they said that she like was some other contestant that married like someone on another season. And I was
right.
Like, nah, whatever. She don't.
Yeah. I think she was like early. I didn't look it up, but I think she was really early. But if they did give out a winner, which they did not give out a winner usually they do, but they did not. I think it would have went to Sarah. I think hers was, and I know hers was a lot of Morse code.
Not Sarah.
Not Sarah, yeah. Katie.
Definitely
I know hers was a lot of
Sarah.
Right. I know hers was a lot of Morse code, but I think it worked out. I think Matt got the most flustered with that one.
Dude, like I said, I would absolutely love to find some like dark web uncut version of that because I can only imagine like what they were actually saying. I have absolutely no idea. But it was just basically a steady line of beeps, and that shit had to be so wild. And speaking of Sarah, after that basically was kind of when she started to unravel and talk about how uncomfortable that made her. And if you're somebody that does not like vibe with the stuff they were doing there, that would have made you just completely I don't even know, like you would just be done after that.
Yeah, the whole challenge was, and Sarah's in the other group. She was in the other group. So It was cool to see that they've put comfortable situation for the other girls too, because if I was the other girls just sitting there, I would be very uncomfortable and kind of jealous a little bit too. But you just got to make fun of it. And it was funny to see that challenge get flipped because I think all the girls who actually said that their story did a very good job. I think it made the other girls a lot more uncomfortable, and you could really see it with Sarah. And it was just kind of cool how that kind of flipped because you would think the other girls would be very uncomfortable telling their deepest, darkest sexual history, their fantasies, and it really got under Sarah's skin. And that's, like you said, her downward spiral, and it just kind of stockpiled and piled after that, because then after there was a after party with the 9 girls who did the actual stories. And he took Rachel first, and they had a really good conversation. He ended up giving her the rose at the end of the night. But then it was Katie's time. And then your girl, Sarah, she did not want to give Katie time. And that's when everything really hit the fan.
Yeah, so Sarah comes in and does something completely unprecedented. Something that's probably never been done before, and just crashes the date that she's not even on. And Katie kind of took it like a champ at first, just like let her have the time. But my favorite part of that is when Katie comes back, like Sarah's spilling her heart out on her stage 5 clinger shit to Matt about how uncomfortable she was and insecure, whatever. But Katie comes back and she's like, hey, this is kind of like my time, so I was hoping I could maybe get it back. And Sarah was like, all right, yeah, just maybe a couple more minutes. And Katie's like, oh, yeah, that's cool. I'll just go ahead and stand right here. And stood like 5 feet away from him while they finished the cut. That was my absolute favorite part. And at that moment, I think I know you are on the same wavelength here as when I'm like, dude, Katie is a G.
Yes. Yeah, I even think towards the end, like she went to that corner and then she actually came back and then said, okay, it's been more than 5 minutes. And then she was like, oh, just give me a couple more. And I think she sat on the couch with them. I think she sat down and then Sarah and Matt went behind that fold or whatever the heck it was. And I was just like, Katie is like, she had every right. Like that was her
Oh,
time.
absolutely.
Sarah did not deserve to be there. She shouldn't have been there. And like, it's funny to me, and we kind of get the complete opposites when we'll talk about the solo date, but we kind of get the complete opposite because Sarah, one of her quotes was, all the special moments we've had, and it's just like you think of it, it's like you had one date, like you're talking about all these special moments. You had one date, and you're like really like in love with this guy, and it just seems like she's like so clingy and in love with this guy, and it's just like, girl, you had one date, you had like the second date. There's 30 other girls here. Like you cannot seriously feel that way about this guy after one date. It just blows my mind.
Should we talk about how serious of a date that was, though? They were in a plane. I mean, their lives were on the line together, okay? And I might be a little biased because I may have called Sarah my way too early fave, which I'm definitely regretting now. But, dude, they were in a plane together. If I ever get in a plane with somebody, a two-person, like two-seater plane with somebody, I better be marrying that girl, okay? That's all I'm saying. The date was pretty serious. I'm not giving her the excuse to do that, but, you know, if I put my life on the line with somebody, maybe I get a little clingy too.
And, I mean, great point with how you chose her to be your way too early favorite. Probably one of the worst decisions. Probably one of the worst decisions in this podcast history. I hope nobody listened to you if they did out their brackets because they would have lost. In this podcast history,
because we've had so many episodes, episode 2.
And it'll probably go down after 5 years of this podcast as the worst call in history. I'm calling that right now. So, but yeah, I mean, I was liking Sarah after episode 1. You couldn't see this happening. And there's still more that we have to get to, but like Katie just I think she had every right. I think, and you know what? This was funny. This was when Victoria started to kind of blend in with the group because Katie went downstairs and said, Sarah's upstairs, like she's stealing my time. And then Victoria was the one pushing, like, girl, go get her, like go back up there. She don't deserve, like that's when when you know Victoria starts to blend in and then Sarah's starting to get ostracized. You know there's a problem.
Dude, Victoria saw the perfect window of opportunity. Oh my God, there's somebody here that they could hate more than me.
Right.
And she jumped on that shit. She started clowning Sarah. She's cracking jokes. Dude, she pursued that opportunity with everything that she had, and it paid off handsomely for her.
Yeah, and I think some people started to like her just a tad. They kind of like humanized her just a tad bit. Yep. But then after all that Sarah ordeal, like Matt kind of ended the date. So there was like 4 or 5 girls that just did not get any FaceTime. And then, like I said earlier, Rachel got the rose. And I think she was well-deserved of the rose. But like I said, there's only like 4 people that actually got FaceTime. And Katie only got like half the time. So Rachel gets the rose. And I don't really remember what they talked about. I don't know if you remember, but it was good enough to get the rose.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was pretty much the only conversation he had with the girls on that date that night. But I did want to point out that one of the girls that also missed out on time that night was Anna, your big mouth girl.
Does she not have a big mouth?
I mean, I've never picked up on it, but you said it, so I'm running with it. Largemouth bass Anna was one of the girls that didn't get time. And like she gets fucked by Sarah again. Yep. And she just has all the animosity towards her now. But I just thought that was funny because you had mentioned her in the beginning, and she was one of the girls that kind of got shafted at that date too. So that was hilarious.
Yeah, and then I mean, she got, like, I think if we said this last time, she got a promo. Anna did. So there's a chance that she kind of goes a little farther, but she's just not getting FaceTime. She might be next out. Like, there's no way that Matt's kind of even looking at her at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how Anna does and see if she gets that FaceTime and if they connect. But one girl that I think he connected with very well is the one that they went on the solo date with.
Yeah, let's get into that. Talk about it.
And Sydney P. I think she did. Well, let's start with Matt walking into the mansion, and guess who's not there?
My girl, Sarah.
Your girl, Sarah, is not there. So again, how she did kind of the faint thing and, got that 5-10 extra minutes with Matt here. She's nowhere to be found. So then Matt has to be digging on her. Like he has to be like liking her a lot because he is like ignoring these other 30 beautiful women for this one girl.
Like I said, dude, is Sarah a genius? I don't know.
Well, apparently not because she's not on the show anymore. But
True.
so he goes up there, consoles her, rubs her back, says her bed's comfy, blah, 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 kissed her a little bit. And then all while that's happening, Victoria, again, kind of instigating it, just starts babbling like, more than 5 minutes, like, what can he be doing? I hope she doesn't come down, like, just stuff like that, doing those little jabs that we said. And then you can kind of start seeing Sydney kind of been like, okay, like this is my date. Like, let's hurry this crap up. But
because at first she was like, oh, well, this is only going to be like 5-10 minutes. We have all day. You know what? I'm not even tripping. And she was cool with it. But yeah, like you said, like after he's been up there for a while, it's like, what in the hell are they doing up there?
Yeah, so like, and then he even acknowledges as like, oh, well, that was more than 5 minutes. When he was coming back down to like talking, he was like, oh, that was more than 5, and everyone was like, yeah. And then this was kind of funny. Victoria kind of threw a jab at Matt because after he said that, and then he started talking about Sarah, I think it was Victoria that was like, well, this is Sydney's date. You guys go have fun. And I was kind of shocked when she actually said that because again, this is kind of humanizing this villain that we kind of set out to be as a villain. And now I think people are kind of seeing her maybe as her true colors. And I feel like Victoria might go farther than hated.
I'm not to that point yet, but like I said, I think she saw a window of opportunity at this point. She still thinks Sarah is staying, and she knows that basically right now people are hating Sarah more than they're hating her, and she's like, well, I kind of like not being that person that everyone hates. I mean, it still says queen in my profession, but I'll hop on this train and maybe hate on Sarah a little bit, get some laughs. Like she's been cracking jokes the whole episode about Sarah, and they've been hitting. I think she kind of likes that role, but I'll be interested to see now. Like you said, like Sarah's not on the episode anymore, so it's kind of like the shift back to like, well, Victoria's still kind of the worst person here.
Right. So I got a question for you. So do you think his inexperience of not being on The Bachelorette is kind of a detriment to trying to juggle all these women?
I mean, it could be, but like at the end of the day, I was actually thinking about this too last night. At the end of the day, like this would be really hard. Like take it from a somewhat indecisive person, and he may be the same type. Like that would be really hard, dude. Because like anytime you're spending one-on-one time with any of those people, like you could be making a great connection. Like there's a perfect opportunity to make a great connection. But then you go back and you think, oh shit, dude, I got like 29 other people that I gotta also do that with. And it's like we had a really good time. And with Sarah being one of the people that he had his first or second one-on-one date with, like, yeah, I'm sure he probably caught some feels. Like I said, they put their lives on the line. They were in the freaking sky in a 2-seater plane. I mean, I'd probably have some feels as well.
Yeah, but you think like we talked about this last time, how Bree had more like a physical first date with him, and then Sarah had more of a emotional connection with But you don't see Bree freaking out. Like she's cool as a cucumber. She got her first group date. She got her one-on-one time talking about other stuff. She's cool right now, and she's like Sarah's just off the rails. So it could be like personalities too. I think Sarah is very, very just jealous person, very picky person, and just kind of wants it her way. Where Bree is very outgoing and open, and I think Bree's looking just very good at this point. Just how Sarah is not looking good.
Well, I think they mentioned it at some point, like when Sarah was doing all this stuff, but like when you come on a show like this, you kind of have to know what you're signing up for. So like I kind of laid out the perspective from Matt's, but like the perspective from the girls is kind of like, wow, like I like think about the girl, she spends that one-on-one time with him. She's definitely getting in those feels, and there's only one guy. And then you got to watch all these other girls have that same connection and form all these different types of relationships. So, I mean, you really got to be mentally prepared for this. And yeah, I don't think Sarah was quite ready for what she was getting herself into.
Yeah, and we can go to the actual date with Serena P. They went donkey riding, horseback riding, whatever that was, and then they had a little picnic. It was funny. Kind of the whole episode is kind of being uncomfortable being comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Of course, their first kiss is interrupted by one of these donkeys. And I just thought that was kind of to the mantra of the episode. But I mean, I don't want to say it was a boring date, but it wasn't the most exciting date. I don't know.
I mean, they had a charcuterie board, which cheese is pretty exciting, maybe. Depends who you are. It depends who you are. Yeah, you're right. It was boring. Super boring as shit. Whatever. So let's get to the nightcap. We had our second shirt off of the season. Tally that up. That's number 2. Pretty steamy hot tub sesh. What do you think about that?
I mean, the funny part again was just he had turtle bathing suits. They were talking turtles before that. But yeah, it kind of mocked Bree's date where they kind of got hot and heavy in the hot tub. But yeah, just I don't know. It wasn't exciting to me. But the cool thing about Serena or Sydney, sorry, is that she's taking things slow. You can tell that she's taking things slow. One of her quotes was, "I think I'm falling in like with this person and not in love." And I think that's just how you have to kind of have this mental game with, you can't fall in love with this guy so quickly. And I really like that. And I think she was asking him more questions than he was actually asking her, which again, this is a two-way road. This isn't just Matt trying to find his person. It's also these girls trying to see if Matt is actually a potential like husband for them. And I think she just balanced that very well. And I think that was A+ for her. I think the date in general, though, just wasn't like one of the most exciting ones.
There wasn't any like events that happened that made it super exciting. And she was talking a lot of shit about turtles. Like, do you hate turtles? She probably uses plastic straws and shit. But whatever. We can get past that. So yeah, boring date. But I think Serena's stock rises. I mean, pretty good there. I still think that they hit it off pretty well. If we get into the stock watch maybe a little bit later, but I mean from there we can take this to kind of the end scene. So we're back, into the Sarah shit. She's again feeling kind of insecure, and now is when she starts talking about leaving. What'd you think there?
Is her name Serena or Sydney?
Did I say Serena? I think you said Serena first. You got it confused in my.
I'm okay because I'm thinking I think it's Serena.
I have no idea now. You see, this is the problem. There's so many. I talked about this in the first episode. There's so many girls. Like, it's so hard to keep track.
No, I think Serena's that Asian. I think it's Sydney. I'm going to go with Sydney. That's my final answer.
All right. Well, just I got to look this up now.
But I'll talk about the Sarah thing while you look that up, because that's gonna bother me. But yeah, so Sarah actually starts talking about leaving.
Her name is Serena. That's what I said.
Oh my god. Okay, so
I think that's what I said.
Serena. Yeah, I think so. I have written down Serena. I don't know why I said Sydney. I think I said Serena first and then Sydney after that. So I apologize for that. Like Ryan said, there's a lot of girls to get to know, and I'm learning names just as much.
2 episodes down the line, we're going to have it down pat.
Yeah. When there's only about 12 girls, I'm going to know them by heart. But yeah, so Sarah starts thinking about leaving. She does not come downstairs at all during that solo date that Sydney had. So when she actually does come down, when the group card gets, for everyone else to get named,
Oh,
that's
that
when
bitch
shit hits the fan.
She got put on trial, bro.
Dude, people were grilling her, and I kind of felt bad for. I think it was Kit and somebody else that was like just kind of saying kind of nasty things. That's like, I hope that she never comes back. I wish I'll never see her face again. I'm just like, okay, like that's a little hurtful stuff, and like you could tell Sarah like just did not know what to do. And then your favorite intro, MJ, Sarah kept trying to find people to console with, and she ended up going with MJ, and MJ was like, I need to cool down, like just kind of gave her the culture. I mean, it was just a shit show for Sarah. She had no friends at all.
Hard not to feel bad for the girl at that point. I mean, as much as we want to make some jokes about the shit that she did, like it's when you get to a point like that where people are just in your face and it's everybody against you. I mean, I was starting to feel a little bad for her, and that's kind of when I was like, all right, if she's even thinking about going home, she's definitely going home now.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I would not want to be in her shoes, but this is where the bigger person stepped up, Katie, and she went to go talk to her, and they had a heart-to-heart, and I know Ryan said she was a G earlier in the episode, and then I have in my notes at the end of the episode, she's a full-on G, because she was the bigger person. They talked it out. Sarah opened up about her father, and then we found some vulnerable of Katie and how she lost her.
Gives you fits, buddy.
She lost her father in 2012. They were both crying. It was a nice moment. And then that's when Sarah decided to pack her bags and leave. But the thing about the end of the episode, when she talked to Matt about leaving, she didn't really say she was leaving for her dad. She was leaving because of the conniving girls that were bullying her. And that is kind of messed up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, end of the day, I have to imagine that I'm sure that her family situation had to have played into that. Not to say that the bullying session at the end didn't push her over the edge, because that was pretty brutal. But I have to imagine that the family situation there definitely played a part.
That's what I'm saying. Like, she's going home for her father, but the reason she told Matt that she was going home was more centered around the girls bullying her. So why not just come out and say, I just want to spend time with my dad. He doesn't have that long left to live. But she kind of went the different route on telling Matt. So that's I feel like the next episode, and I'm going to call this kind of, like I said before, I do not watch previews. I don't try to read articles. Like, I try to not know what's going to happen next week. I feel like there's not going to be a group date because of what Sarah told Matt, and that he'll be so upset that Sarah left and that she left because of other girls. I think there's not going to be a group date. I think that's just a guess, though.
So you saying they jump straight in, like we got our opening scene, like obviously he's going to get in there and rip him up a new one, and then we go straight into a rose ceremony?
I think so. And I mean, that's probably a lot of far-fetched guess, but the way that the show ended, how we didn't even get to see the second date, there's got to be something brewing, that something's going to happen next episode that's going to be pretty big. And I think it's going to be centered around the bullying of Sarah, and how, we had bullying earlier with Marilyn and Victoria. Like, there's a lot of bullying that people are accusing people of. So I think Matt's going to put his foot down and just say, hey, like, this needs to stop. Like, this is not why we're here. We're here to have, get to know one another. And like, I feel like that's coming, but that's we guess.
You get a bunch of girls in and they're all fighting over the same dude. You cannot expect there to be no psychological warfare. I mean, they're playing to win. And honestly, let's go back to me saying that Sarah might be a genius. She goes in there, she knows she's leaving. Why not stir the pot a little bit? Throw a little chili pepper in there, spice some shit up for the next episode. I mean, this girl is 10 steps ahead of everybody else. And it's maybe sucks that she left, because there might have been a few more tricks up the sleeve there. I mean, this girl, genius.
Yeah, you got to say that though, because you got to save face for your way too early your pick. But I got a question for you. That you're in love with Sarah. Do you think we see Sarah back?
So I know that I think it was the first episode where they do kind of like a quick preview stuff, like at the end of the first episode where they kind of show like, this is what's to come on the next whatever, The Bachelor.
I
And
didn't watch that.
there was like an episode there down the line where more girls were showing up. So I don't know. I'm not going to say that it's completely out of the realm of possibility. I'm definitely not in love with Sarah. I called her as my way too early favorite, and that's why we call it a way too early favorite, because you never know what's going to happen. I was wrong, all right?
Way wrong.
No need to crucify me about it, all right? They put their lives on the line together. I'm just going to keep saying that, dude. Like, I mean, I couldn't imagine that this was going to happen. But no, to answer your question, I don't know. Like, I think it's definitely in the realm of possibility we see her again. But, I mean, Matt seems to be kind of really in his feels about this gal.
Yeah, so we talked about your early favorite, which was terrible. So we can go to my early favorite, just kind of check up on Piper. You know, she was one of the girls that is going to be on the date next week. So she really didn't get any FaceTime. She really wasn't bullying Sarah. She was kind of more in the background throughout that whole episode. So really no FaceTime with Matt and no real drama with the girls. So my not too early early favorite is looking pretty good.
She kind of flies under the radar, huh? I mean,
yeah, I mean, her stock's not high, it's not low. It's probably a good time to buy. No.
I'm not going to lie, dude. Your early favorite call is just boring. I mean, I swung for the fences.
And you missed.
Try to keep things interesting. And yeah, when you're swinging for the fences, you're more likely to strike out, but sometimes you hit a home run, right? I didn't hit a home run this time, but I went and I picked maybe the most interesting and possibly the smartest girl that was here, because this girl stays making like chess moves out here, even though she's leaving, still leaves one in the chamber for next episode. Like, we're not done hearing about Sarah, that's for sure.
No, we're definitely not. And then we'll kind of go into the stock watch of our episode. I mean, the risers for me is Rachel, who has the only rose at the moment for the next rose ceremony. Nice conversation, like we said, though, like the only conversation. But I think they kind of clicked just a little bit. Of course, Sydney's stock is going to rise after that
Serena.
group date. No, you said Sydney.
No, it's Serena. I said Serena. It's not Sydney. That's the name that you said that was wrong. It's Serena.
So Serena.
Serena is the one that had the one-on-one your boring date.
Serena. Is there a Sydney on the show?
I don't even know, dude. I don't think so. If there is one, she's not getting a lot of airtime.
She's already like pack your bags. All right, so Serena stock is going up, and dare I say, Victoria stock is going up. I know, and the only reason I say Victoria stock is going up,
it nudged
because
up.
It was so low after the first two episodes. It's just a little bit up. I mean, you probably made a couple bucks, but
it could not have gone lower. That is for sure. And honestly, dude, I want to say that if Victoria's shit is an act, get this girl in the next Leonardo DiCaprio movie, because she is phenomenal. All right. This girl plays the villain like nobody I've ever seen. Like, this is fantastic. But I think you're right. I think Victoria's stock did nudge up just a hair, because it couldn't have gone any lower. Most people in this episode kind of stayed the same, because, I mean, this was basically centered around 4 to 5 girls for the most part. But I mean, we got to say, we've been talking about her. Katie's stock, I think, shot to the freaking moon.
At least for us.
I mean, yeah, for us. But
I don't know about Matt,
because
Matt hasn't seen all this. Matt hasn't seen what Katie's done. So the date, of course, he saw and she did a good job. But like, it'll be interesting to see how Matt reacts to what Katie has done for Sarah, or if he'll ever know like they had that talk. And we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out too. But I agree, Katie's stock went up.
Yeah, at least in the eyes of the fans, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, what an episode. There was a lot happened in that, but really, like, also at the same time, not a lot happened in that. I mean, we only had one group date, we had one one-on-one, and the rest was just drama, 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 which is
Yeah.
what we live for. We eat that shit up like
Right.
chocolate cake.
And I do have to say, the one girl that stock went extremely down, and who was your not, or who your early favorite was Sarah's. So her stock is out the door.
I mean, she's out the door. Her whole body's out the door. I mean, she left.
You lost a lot of money on that one.
I didn't lose any money. I didn't put any money on it. It was a way too early fave call. I swung for the fence and I struck out this time. But you know what? I'm done making way too early fave calls. So we'll see how yours fares, because she's been
Mine's already
boring.
better than yours.
She's been incredibly boring. Dude,
I bet she's top 5.
But she might be top 5, but she ain't she ain't throwing out greatest hits like Sarah. Like I said, dude, chess moves. This girl, I mean, this whole next episode might be centered around just the shit she said before she left.
I mean, at least the first 15 minutes has to be like, there's no way we end it like that and it doesn't get brought up for the next episode. Like I said, I think it's gonna be a whole drama-filled episode with this date not being happening, and then Sarah's continually making these girls not have FaceTime with Matt. I think it's gonna be a whole storyline, to be honest.
I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited for our next episode. I'm sure we will have plenty of content to unpack for that one. But I think we'll go ahead and wrap up episode 2 here, unless you had anything left to add.
Nope, just that your early favorite sucks.
My early favorite doesn't suck, but she didn't win yet. You know, maybe she comes back, and then my early favorite call is like maybe the best call ever. Who knows? But yeah, so we'll go ahead and sign off for episode 2. Hope you guys are liking the BachPod. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad. Hit us up on YouTube. Shoot us a suggestion if you think it sucks, or just tell us it sucks. You know, whatever. Call us ugly. Do something. Leave a comment, something. We're just here to entertain. So we'll go ahead and sign off with that, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.